The champagne flute feels impossibly heavy. It's not the weight of the glass or the bubbling liquid inside, but the weight of the moment, the weight of this room. The air is thick with expensive perfume and the low hum of self-congratulation. Laughter, brittle and bright, echoes off the high ceilings of the rented ballroom. I'm holding a silver tray steady, a professional smile plastered on my face, a smile that feels like a mask made of cheap, cracking plastic. My uniform is crisp, black, and anonymous. It's my armor and my cage. Across the room, under a chandelier that drips crystals like frozen tears, he stands.
Mark.
My husband. My soon-to-be ex-husband. He's radiant. He's wearing the custom suit we picked out together for our 5th anniversary, the one with the subtle pinstripe that brings out the blue in his eyes. Tonight, his eyes aren't for me. They are fixed on the woman clinging to his arm, a woman whose entire existence is a testament to my failure.
Tiffany.
She's 23. She's all shimmering blonde hair, a white dress that's offensively close to a wedding gown, and a laugh that sounds like tiny bells. She looks up at him, her adoration so blatant it's almost vulgar. He leans down and kisses her, a soft, proprietary kiss for the assembled audience. Their audience. My breath catches in my throat, a sharp, painful thing. My knuckles are white where I grip the tray. No one here knows who I am. To them, I am just a server, a faceless part of the machinery that makes a night like this run smoothly. They don't see the 15 years etched into the lines around my eyes. They don't see the ghost of a home we built, the echoes of laughter in hallways that are now silent. They see him, the brilliant entrepreneur, celebrating his new love, his new life. And I am just the girl with the tray of champagne. He hasn't seen me yet, but he will. The thought is a cold, hard stone in my stomach. This whole night is a carefully constructed stage, and the final act is about to begin. If you've ever had to stand in a room and pretend to be someone you're not, just to survive the moment, tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one. And please, if this story finds you, subscribe. It helps more than you know. Just 6 months ago, my world had a different rhythm. It was the gentle hum of the industrial refrigerator in our kitchen, the scent of rosemary and garlic, the satisfying heft of a well-balanced chef's knife in my hand. Mark and I owned Savor, a high-end catering company we had built from nothing. We started it in our tiny apartment kitchen with a second-hand van and a dream fueled by cheap coffee and sheer, stubborn love. I was the heart of the operation, the one who designed the menus, perfected the recipes, and managed the chaos of the kitchen. He was the face, the charming, handsome salesman who could sell ice in a blizzard. He would clients, schmoozed at events, and brought in the business that my food kept. We were a perfect team. Or so I thought. Our life was a comfortable, worn-in sweater. Sunday mornings were for the farmer's market, our hands brushing as we picked out heirloom tomatoes. Evenings were spent on the couch, my feet in his lap, talking about expanding the business, about the house we wanted to buy in the country, about the children we were trying to have. It was a life built on a million tiny, shared moments that felt as solid as granite. The first crack in the foundation was so small I almost missed it. Her name, Tiffany, started appearing in his sentences like a new, exotic spice he was trying out. Tiffany organized the quarterly reports. She's a lifesaver. Tiffany has this incredible idea for our social media presence. Tiffany says I need to delegate more. He said her name with a certain brightness, a kind of paternal pride that I, in my naivety, found endearing. He'd hired her as his personal assistant, fresh out of college. A go-getter, he called her. A real firecracker. I remember meeting her for the first time. She came to one of our events, a charity gala we were catering. She was wearing a dress that was a little too tight, a little too short for a professional setting. She had a handshake like a wet fish and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She called me Mrs. Jensen. Even though she knew I was a partner in the business, the Jensen of Savor, she hovered around Mark all night, her hand finding his arm with an unnerving frequency. I felt a prickle of something, a strange, possessive annoyance. I dismissed it as jealousy. I was 40. She was 23. It was a cliché. I was better than that. but the cracks started to spread. Mark started working later. The dinners we shared became rarer. When he was home, he was distant, his face illuminated by the glow of his phone. "Just wrapping up a few things with Tiffany," he'd murmur, his thumbs flying across the screen. The shared moments that were the bedrock of our marriage began to erode, replaced by a quiet, gnawing distance. The space on his side of the bed felt colder. His laughter, when I could coax it out of him, sounded hollow. I tried to talk to him. I'd make his favorite meal, open a bottle of the good wine, and try to draw him back to me. "Is everything okay, Mark? You seem so far away." He'd flash that brilliant smile, the one that used to make my heart skip a beat, but now it felt like a shield. "Everything's great, honey. Just swamped. This new corporate account Tiffany landed is a beast. But it's going to be huge for us."
Us.
He still said us, and I clung to that word like a drowning woman clings to a piece of driftwood. I told myself it was just stress, that all couples went through phases like this. I poured myself deeper into my work, creating new menus, training new staff, trying to hold our shared dream together with both hands, blind to the fact that he had already let go. The inciting incident, when it came, wasn't a dramatic, plate-smashing fight. It was quiet. It was civilized. It was utterly devastating. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because we always had tacos on Tuesdays. I was in the kitchen, chopping cilantro, the familiar, comforting scent filling the air. He walked in, still in his suit, and stood there, leaning against the doorframe. He didn't loosen his tie. He didn't kiss me hello. "Clara," he said, and his voice was flat, devoid of all warmth. "We need to talk." I put the knife down. The silence in the room was suddenly deafening, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. I knew in that instant that my life was about to break in two. He didn't sit down. He delivered the blow standing, as if he were a messenger delivering bad news to a stranger. "I'm leaving you," he said.
Just like that.
For words that detonated the world I knew. I stared at him, trying to make sense of his face. It was my husband's face, but the expression was one I'd never seen before. It was resolute and empty. "What?" The word came out as a whisper, a puff of air. "I'm in love with someone else," he continued, his gaze unwavering. "I'm in love with Tiffany." Her name hung in the air between us, thick and poisonous. The cliché I had dismissed, the one I thought I was above, had just walked into my kitchen and set my house on fire. I felt a wave of nausea, so intense I had to grip the edge of the counter to stay upright. The smell of cilantro was suddenly cloying, sickening. "Tiffany," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling. "You're your assistant? She's a child, Mark." "She's 23, Clara. She's a woman. And she makes me happy," he said it with a chilling simplicity, as if that explained everything. As if 15 years of marriage, of shared history, of building a life and a business from scratch, could be erased by that one simple, selfish sentence. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the bowl of freshly made salsa at his perfect, handsome face. I wanted to rage and weep and tear our wedding photos from the walls. But I was frozen, paralyzed by a shock so profound it felt like being submerged in ice water. He took my silence as acceptance, or maybe he just didn't care enough to wait for a reaction. He kept talking, laying out the logistics of our lives' demolition with the cool efficiency of a project manager. He'd already packed a bag. He was moving into a new apartment. He'd have his lawyer contact mine. It was all so neat, so tidy, so utterly heartless. And then he delivered the final, most twisted blow. He walked over to me, his face softening into a mask of concern I now recognized as pity. "Look, Clara," he said, his voice gentle. "I know this is hard, but I really hope we can still be friends. You're my best friend. I don't want to lose that." Friends. He had just ripped my heart out of my chest, and he was asking to be friends. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of it was what finally broke through the shock. The absurdity was so profound, it was almost funny. He wanted to keep me, but in a new, demoted role. The supportive ex-wife. The friend who would cheer him on from the sidelines as he built a new life with a younger woman on the rubble of ours. I just stared at him, the unspoken scream trapped in my throat. And in that moment, I think he mistook my stunned silence for consideration. He gave me a small, hopeful smile, squeezed my shoulder, and then he turned and walked out of the kitchen, out of our house, out of my life. The front door clicked shut behind him, and the sound echoed in the sudden, crushing silence. I stood there for a long time, the knife still on the cutting board, the scent of cilantro filling a home that was no longer ours. The tacos were never made. The first few weeks are a blur of gray. The house, once a sanctuary of shared life, becomes a mausoleum. Every object whispers his name. The coffee mug he used every morning, still in the dish drainer. The indentation his head left on the pillow next to mine. The silence is a physical presence, a heavy blanket that smothers all sound, all thought. I move through the rooms like a ghost, untethered. Sleep is a mercy that rarely comes. When it does, I wake up reaching for him, my hand meeting only cold, empty sheets. The brief moment of forgetting is followed by the brutal punch of remembering. Again. And again. My phone becomes an instrument of torture. Well-meaning friends call, their voices dripping with pity. "How are you holding up?" they ask, a question with no honest answer. How do you explain that you feel like a building that's had its foundation ripped out? That you walk around expecting to collapse at any moment?
So I lie.
"I'm okay," I say, my voice a hollow echo of itself. Just taking it one day at a time. Then there are the other calls. The ones from mutual friends who are clearly on his side. They speak of Mark's happiness, of how brave he is for following his heart. They talk about Tiffany, how sweet and full of life she is. They don't say it outright, but the implication is clear. I am the past. I am the obstacle he has bravely overcome. His social media is a minefield I can't stop myself from walking through. A picture of him and Tiffany, clinking wine glasses at a rooftop bar, the city lights twinkling behind them. His arm is slung around her, his smile wider and more carefree than I've seen it in years. The caption reads, "Finally living my truth, my truth." As if our 15 years were a lie. I scroll through dozens of photos, each one a fresh stab to the heart. Them on a weekend getaway to the coast. Them at a concert. Her, wearing one of his old band t-shirts, making pancakes in a kitchen I don't recognize. She has seamlessly slipped into my life, only it's a brighter, shinier version. Mark, true to his word, tries to be my friend. He texts me, "Hey, how are you doing? Just wanted to check in, saw this funny meme and thought of you." Each message is a tiny, casual cruelty. He wants to maintain the connection, but on his terms. He wants absolution. He wants me to be the cool ex-wife who gives him her blessing. I ignore most of them, my fingers hovering over the screen, 1,000 angry replies composed and deleted. The business, Savor, our baby, becomes another battleground. He calls me a week after he leaves. "Clara, about the company," he says, his voice all business. "I think it's best if you take some time off. To process everything. I can handle things for a while." "Handle things?" I ask, my voice flat. "Mark, I'm the executive chef. I create the menus. I run the kitchen." I know," he says soothingly, that infuriatingly condescending tone creeping in. "And you're brilliant. But let's be honest, you're not in the right headspace for this right now. I'll hire a temporary chef to manage things. Tiffany has a cousin who's a culinary school graduate, a real talent. Just until you're back on your feet." The suggestion is so insulting, so dismissive of my life's work, that I'm momentarily speechless. He wants to replace me with Tiffany's cousin. He's not just taking my husband, he's taking my identity, piece by piece. "No," I say, my voice firmer than I thought possible. "I'm not taking time off." "Clara, be reasonable," he sighs, his patience already wearing thin. "We can't have our clients seeing you like this. It's bad for the brand. Let me handle it. I'll make sure you get your share when we sort out the financials." The threat is veiled, but it's there. My emotional state is a liability. He's painting me as unstable and him as the steady hand, heroically keeping the ship from sinking. I hang up the phone, my hand trembling with a rage that is finally starting to burn through the fog of grief. He thinks he can just erase me. From our home, from our life, from our business. I go into the office the next day, determined to fight. But the atmosphere is different. The staff, people I hired and trained, look at me with a mixture of pity and discomfort. They avoid my eyes. Tiffany is there, sitting at a desk right outside Mark's office, a new, permanent fixture. She gives me a small, triumphant smile. Mark calls me into his office, our office, and closes the door. "What are you doing here, Clara?" he asks, his voice low. "I work here," I say, my jaw tight. "This isn't helping," he says, running a hand through his hair. "People are talking. It's making things awkward. I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect the business. Our business," I correct him. He sighs, a long, theatrical sound of a man burdened by an unreasonable woman. "Look, my lawyer is drawing up a buyout offer. It's very generous. It will give you a fresh start. You won't have to worry about anything." He's pushing me out. He's using our shared history, our friends, our employees, and my own grief against me. He's poisoning the well, making it impossible for me to stay. And all the while, he keeps up the charade. He calls me later that week. "I know things are tense right now," he says, his voice full of false sincerity. "But I really do want us to get through this and be friends. You mean too much to me to just lose you completely." That line again. That twisted, manipulative request. He doesn't want a friend. He wants a ghost he doesn't have to feel guilty about. He wants me to sign the papers, take the generous offer, and disappear quietly, leaving him with the spoils of our life. I am drowning, and he's standing on the shore, telling me what a great swimmer I used to be, hoping I'll just sink without a fuss. The initial shock is wearing off, replaced by a slow, simmering burn of anger. He has underestimated me. He has mistaken my grief for weakness. And that is a mistake he is going to regret. The buyout offer arrives in a crisp, intimidating envelope delivered by a courier. I sit at my dining room table, the same table where Mark and I once sketched out the business plan for Savor on a cocktail napkin. The legal jargon swims before my eyes, a language designed to confuse and intimidate. But the numbers are clear. They are an insult. He is offering me a fraction of what my half of the company is worth. It's enough for a fresh start, as he put it, but it's a start in a one-bedroom apartment, not the future I had spent 15 years building. His lawyer's cover letter is a masterpiece of condescension. It talks about market volatility, the risks of a partnership dissolution, and Mark's generous desire to provide Clara with security during this difficult transition. It's all couched in language that makes him sound like a saint and me like a charity case. Mark calls that evening. "Did you get the papers?" he asks, his tone casual, as if he's asking about the weather. "I got them," I say, my voice tight. "Good. It's a great offer, Clara. More than fair. It will let you take a few years off, maybe go back to school, find something you're passionate about." He's already planning my new, smaller life for me. "My passion is Savor," I say, the words tasting like ash. "The company we built together." He sighs, that familiar, weary sigh. "We both know you're not in a place to run a business right now. This is for the best. For everyone. Just sign the papers, Clara. Let's not make this ugly. Let's be friends." There it is again. The weaponized friendship. He's holding it over my head like a guillotine. If I fight, I'm bitter. If I demand what's fair, I'm making it ugly. If I don't graciously accept his terms, I'm not being a friend for days. I'm paralyzed. Part of me, the exhausted, heartbroken part, just wants to sign. To take the money and run. To end the pain and the constant reminders. I imagine disappearing, starting over where no one knows my name or my story. My lawyer, a man my father recommended, is pragmatic. "It's a lowball offer," he tells me over the phone. "We can fight it, but it will be a long, expensive battle. He'll drag your emotional state into it. It will get personal. Are you prepared for that?" Am I? Am I prepared to have my grief dissected in a courtroom? To have my character assassinated by the man I loved? To fight for a business where I'm no longer welcome? The thought is exhausting. I feel the fight draining out of me, leaving behind a hollow ache. That night, unable to sleep, I find myself in the back of the closet, digging through old boxes. I'm looking for something, though I'm not sure what. A piece of the past, maybe. A reminder of who I was before all this. My fingers close around a small, leather-bound photo album. It's from the early days. There we are, Mark and I, 25 and beaming, standing in front of our first, beat-up catering van. We're holding a sign that says Savor, hand-painted on a piece of cardboard. We look so young, so full of hope. I flip through the pages. A picture of me, covered in flour, laughing as I pull the first perfect batch of brioche from our tiny apartment oven. A picture of Mark, asleep on a pile of invoices, his face smudged with ink. And then I see it, the cocktail napkin. I had saved it, tucked it between the plastic pages of the album. It's faded and stained with coffee, but our handwriting is still there. My neat, precise script outlining menu ideas and food costs. His sprawling, ambitious scrawl detailing marketing strategies and 5-year goals. Staring at that napkin, something shifts inside me. This wasn't just his dream that I helped with. This was my dream, too. My recipes. My systems. My hard work. He was the salesman, but I was the architect. I built the engine that he drove. He is trying to convince me that he is Savor, and I am just a disposable part. And for the last few weeks, I have been believing him. The grief that has been suffocating me for weeks doesn't disappear, but something new crystallizes within it. A cold, hard diamond of anger. A clarity so sharp it cuts through the fog. I am not a victim. I am a partner. And he is not just leaving me, he is trying to rob me. The sadness turns into a slow-burning, controlled rage. He wants to make it ugly? Fine. But we'll do it my way. I close the photo album. The hollow ache inside me is gone, replaced by a steely resolve. I'm not signing the papers. I'm not disappearing. And I'm not going to fight him in a courtroom where he can twist my pain into a weapon against me. No, I'm going to fight him in the arena we built together. The business. He thinks he's taken everything from me. He has no idea what I'm about to take back. This is the midpoint. The moment the tears stop and the planning begins. He thinks he knows me, the gentle, creative, emotional Clara. He's about to meet a woman he's never seen before. The next morning, I wake up before the sun. For the first time in months, I don't feel the familiar dread pressing down on my chest. I feel purpose. The kitchen, which has felt like a hostile, memory-filled space, now looks like my command center. I make a pot of strong, black coffee, pull out a fresh legal pad, and start to write. My first call isn't to my lawyer. It's to Maria, our head chef. I hired her 7 years ago. She was a single mom with a fiery passion for food and an incredible work ethic. I mentored her, and she became my right hand, my most trusted person in the kitchen. She's been quiet since Mark left, sending me a few tentative thinking of you texts, clearly caught in the middle. She answers on the second ring, her voice wary. Clara? Is everything okay? I'm fine, Maria, I say, my voice steady. Better than fine, actually. I need to ask you a few questions. Off the record. There's a pause. I can hear the clatter of pans in the background. Okay, she says slowly. How are things at Savor? Really? She hesitates, then the words come tumbling out in a frustrated whisper. It's a mess. Mark is trying to run the kitchen by committee. He's cutting costs everywhere. He's switched our prime meat supplier for a cheaper, lower quality one. He's using frozen fish instead of fresh. He's pushing pre-made sauces to save on prep time. He's destroying everything you built, Clara, she says, her voice thick with anger. He brought in that cousin of Tiffany's as a consultant, and the kid doesn't know a whisk from a spatula. Morale is in the gutter. The food, it's not Savor anymore. Every word, she says, is a nail in Mark's coffin. He's arrogant. He always saw the kitchen as a simple assembly line, not the delicate ecosystem of skill and passion that it is. He thought my part was easy, replaceable. He's telling everyone you had a breakdown, Maria adds, her voice soft. That he's just trying to keep things afloat until you're well. I know, I say, the cold resolve in my gut hardening further. Maria, I need you to do something for me. I need you to start documenting everything. Every cheap ingredient, he substitutes. Every complaint from a client. Every late payment to a supplier. Can you do that for me? Quietly. Consider it done, she says, a new energy in her voice. She knows what I'm doing. I'm not just grieving. I'm gathering ammunition. My next call is to our accountant, a quiet man named David, who's been with us from the beginning. I take him to a small, out-of-the-way coffee shop. I lay it all out for him. Mark's offer, his attempts to push me out. David listens, his face grim. He can't do that, David says, shaking his head. Your name is on everything. You're a 50% partner. He can't force you out without your signature. He thinks I'll break, I say simply. He's counting on it. David, I need to see the books. All of them. For the last year. He looks at me, a flicker of fear in his eyes. Mark changed the passwords to the main server last month. He said it was for security purposes. I only have access to the payroll accounts.
Of course he did.
He was locking me out, step by step. But Mark is a salesman, not a tech guy.
He's sloppy.
I spent years building the digital infrastructure of our company. I know its bones. I know the back doors because I'm the one who put them there. That night, I sit at my computer, a glass of wine by my side. It takes me 3 hours, but I finally find a loophole. An old administrative account I created for emergencies, one I'm sure he's forgotten about. My fingers fly across the keyboard, my heart pounding. And then I'm in. What I find is worse than I imagined. It's not just about cutting corners on food quality. It's a systematic looting of the company. He's been funneling money into a new consulting company, a shell corporation. The sole proprietor?
Tiffany.
He's been billing Savor for her marketing services at an exorbitant rate. Thousands of dollars for a few Instagram posts. He's writing off personal expenses as business costs. Lavish dinners, weekend trips, a lease on a new luxury car. He's been cooking the books, hiding his theft in plain sight, all while telling our friends and employees that he's the one holding it all together. He's not just building a new life, he's doing it with my money. Our money. The evidence is all there, a digital trail of his betrayal. I spend the next 2 weeks in a fugue state, fueled by coffee and rage. I download every file, every invoice, every bank statement. I create a meticulous, undeniable record of his fraud. In the midst of this, the final insult arrives. It's an email. The subject line reads, "You're invited." It's a digital invitation, shimmering with animated gold confetti. Mark and Tiffany are delighted to announce their engagement. They request the pleasure of my company at a party to celebrate. I stare at the screen, a bitter laugh bubbling up in my throat. The cruelty is so profound, it's almost artistic. He's not just inviting me, he's flaunting his victory. He wants me to witness it. He probably thinks I'll decline, but the invitation itself is a power move, a final twist of the knife. He calls me the next day. "Hey, did you get our Evite?" he asks, his voice disgustingly cheerful. "I did," I say, my voice a carefully controlled monotone. "Awesome. I really hope you can make it. It would mean the world to me, to both of us, to have you there. As a friend." And in that moment, listening to his casual, confident cruelty, a plan begins to form. A wild, audacious, beautiful plan. It unfolds in my mind, perfectly and completely. "I don't know, Mark," I say, letting a hint of weary sadness creep into my voice. "That sounds difficult." I know, he says quickly. "But it would be a gesture. A way to show everyone that we're handling this like adults. That we still care about each other." He's not asking for me. He's asking for an audience. He wants me there as a prop, the gracious ex-wife, a living symbol of his blamelessness. "Who's catering?" I ask, my heart starting to beat a little faster. I hold my breath. Waiting for the answer, I already suspect. There's a slight pause. Well, that's the thing, he says a little sheepishly. We're using Savor, of course. Got to showcase the best, right? The sheer, unmitigated arrogance of it. He is going to use my recipes, my staff, my company, the company he is actively robbing me blind with, to celebrate the engagement to the woman he left me for. He is serving his triumph to me on one of my own silver platters. A slow smile spreads across my face. It's not a happy smile. It's the smile of a predator that has just seen its prey walk directly into a perfectly laid trap. You know what, Mark? I say, my voice soft. I think you're right. It's time to be adults. I'll be there. He's so relieved, so pleased with himself, that he completely misses the cold, dangerous edge in my voice. That's great, Clara. That's so great. I knew you'd understand. This means so much. Oh, I understand perfectly, I murmur after he hangs up. You have no idea. The next phase of the plan requires precision and secrecy. I take the mountain of evidence I've compiled to my lawyer. He's a different man now. The cautious, pragmatic advisor is gone, replaced by a lawyer who smells blood in the water. He pores over the documents, his eyes widening with each page. This is spectacular, he says, a grim smile on his face. This isn't just a messy divorce anymore. This is criminal.
Fraud.
Embezzlement. I don't want to go to the police, I say. Not yet. I don't want him in jail. I want him ruined. I want to take back what's mine. Together, we chart a new course. We won't just sue for divorce. We will sue him for damages. We will dismantle his stolen empire. But first, I need to build my own. I spend the next month operating in the shadows. I drain my personal savings and take out a loan against the house, our house, which is still in both our names, a detail he seems to have overlooked in his haste. I file the paperwork for a new corporation. I call it Phoenix. Then I start making calls. I reach out to Savor's biggest and most loyal clients, the ones I had cultivated personal relationships with over the years. I don't mention Mark or the divorce. I talk to them about food. I tell them I'm starting a new, boutique venture, focusing on the quality and creativity that Savor was originally known for. I hear their frustrations with Mark's new direction, the declining quality, the impersonal service. One by one, I secure their loyalty. I draw up contracts, contingent on my new company launching on a specific date. Next, I approach the staff. I start with Maria, my head chef. I lay out my plan, my new company. I offer her a partnership, a real stake in the business. Her eyes fill with tears. I'm with you, Clara, she says without a moment's hesitation. We all are. She becomes my inside woman. Quietly, she talks to the best of Savor's staff, the sous chefs, the pastry chefs, the veteran servers, the event managers, the people who remembered the passion we started with and resented the corporate, corner-cutting machine Mark was turning it into. I offer them better pay, better hours, and a chance to be part of something they can be proud of again. The entire core of Savor's talent agrees to jump ship the moment I give the word. We are building a lifeboat, and soon, we will set the old ship on fire. The date of the engagement party looms closer. It's the perfect stage. It's Mark's night of triumph, the public coronation of his new life. He's so blinded by his own ego, he can't see the storm gathering right over his head. The final piece of the plan is the most theatrical, the most personal. It's my idea, and my lawyer thinks I'm crazy, but he agrees it has a certain poetic justice. I call Savor's event manager, a woman I hired 5 years ago. Janet, I say, I need a favor. I need you to put me on the service staff for the Jensen party. There is a long, stunned silence on the other end of the line. Clara, you can't be serious. Deadly serious, I say. No one can know it's me until I'm there. Just list me as a temp. I want to be there. I need to see it. She argues, but I insist. She finally, reluctantly, agrees. She understands loyalty. She's one of the ones coming with me to Phoenix. The day of the party arrives. I don't feel nervous. I feel a strange, calm sense of destiny. I lay out the uniform Janet dropped off for me. A simple black button-down shirt, black trousers, a black apron. It's the uniform of invisibility. I look at my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back is not the weeping, broken person I was 6 months ago. My eyes are clear. The lines on my face are no longer from grief, but from determination. I am a soldier putting on her armor. I drive to the venue, a lavish ballroom overlooking the city. As I walk through the service entrance, the familiar chaos of a big event washes over me. The clatter of dishes, the shouts of the kitchen staff, the smell of food. Maria sees me and gives me a tight, nervous smile. She pulls me aside. "Are you sure about this, Clara?" she whispers. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," I reply, tying the apron around my waist. For the first hour, I move through the party like a ghost. I carry trays of canapés, my recipes, executed perfectly by Maria's team as a final act of defiance. I see our friends, the ones who chose his side. They look right through me, their eyes sliding past the anonymous server. It's a strange, liberating feeling. To be unseen, yet to see everything. I watch Mark. He is in his element, the king in his court. He holds Tiffany's hand, showing off the massive diamond on her finger. He accepts congratulations, his laughter booming through the room. He is arrogant, happy, and completely oblivious. He is a man standing on a trapdoor, admiring the view. Then, the moment comes. The event manager gives the signal for the champagne toast. I go to the bar and pick up a full tray of flutes. My hands are perfectly steady. I weave through the crowd, my smile fixed in place. I approach the small circle of honor where Mark and Tiffany are standing with their parents. He sees me first. His smile falters. His eyes widen in disbelief, confusion warring with shock. For a second, he looks like a deer caught in the headlights. Tiffany looks from his face to mine, a flicker of smug satisfaction in her eyes. She probably thinks I'm here to make a scene, to cry, to beg. Mark recovers quickly, his salesman's charm kicking in. He puts a broad smile on his face. "Clara," he exclaims a little too loudly. He turns to Tiffany's bewildered parents. "This is Clara, my ex-wife. She's such a dear friend. She insisted on helping out tonight. Can you believe it?" He's trying to spin it, to control the narrative. I just smile. A small, quiet smile that doesn't reach my eyes. I extend the tray. "Champagne?" I ask, my voice even. Tiffany takes a glass, her eyes mocking me over the rim. Mark takes one, his hand shaking almost imperceptibly. He avoids my gaze. "Thank you, Clara," he mutters, his face tight. "That's very good of you." "It's my pleasure," I say. "And I mean it." Mark raises his glass, ready to begin his toast. The room quiets. He taps the glass with his finger for attention. "I just want to thank you all for coming," he begins, his voice full of emotion. "To celebrate with me and the most amazing woman I have ever known." He doesn't get to finish the sentence. At that exact moment, the grand doors of the ballroom swing open. 2 figures enter. One is my lawyer, looking grim and official in a dark suit. The other is a professional process server. They walk purposefully through the silent crowd, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. They don't stop until they are standing right in front of Mark. The process server steps forward. "Mark Jensen?" he asks, his voice loud and clear in the silent room. Mark stares at him, dumbfounded. "Yes." The man extends a thick, legal-sized envelope. "You've been served." A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. Tiffany looks at Mark, her face a mask of confusion. Mark takes the envelope as if it's a venomous snake. His eyes dart around the room, finally landing on me. I'm still standing there, holding the silver tray, my expression unreadable. And in my eyes, he finally sees it. Not sadness, not jealousy, just the cold, calm light of retribution. He rips the envelope open. His face, which was flushed with happiness just moments before, drains of all color. He pulls out the documents, his hands trembling violently now. He reads the first page. It's a lawsuit. A civil suit for fraud, embezzlement, and breach of fiduciary duty. It details every dollar he stole, every fake invoice, every lie. He flips to the next page. It's a court order freezing all his personal and business assets, effective immediately. The money he stole, the apartment he's living in, the luxury car he leased, it's all frozen. He shuffles to the next set of documents. They are letters of contract termination. From every single one of Saver's major clients. One after another, they state that they are terminating their relationship with Saver and have signed exclusively with a new catering firm. Phoenix Catering. My company. At the same time, Maria steps out from the kitchen service door. She gives a sharp, clear whistle. The entire kitchen staff, the chefs, the line cooks, the prep team, walks out, untying their aprons and placing them in a neat pile on the floor. The servers, my loyalists, do the same, abandoning their trays of drinks and food. The party is over. The catering has officially walked out. The room is in chaos. People are whispering, staring. Tiffany is tugging on his arm, her voice a shrill cry. Mark, what is this? What's going on? But he can't hear her. His eyes are locked on the papers in his hand, the architecture of his ruin laid out in black and white. He looks up at me, his face a grotesque canvas of shock, disbelief, and a dawning, horrifying understanding. He sees the 15 years he threw away. He sees the partner he underestimated. He sees the friend he tried to manipulate. He sees the ghost who came back to burn his kingdom to the ground. He opens his mouth to say something, my name perhaps, but only a strangled gasp comes out. He stumbles backward, his hand clutching at the chest of his expensive suit. The champagne flute slips from his fingers and shatters on the floor, the sound like a gunshot in the stunned silence. His eyes roll back in his head, and he collapses, a dead weight, onto the pristine marble floor. For a moment, nobody moves. The world seems to hold its breath. Then Tiffany screams, a raw, piercing sound of terror. People rush forward. Someone is shouting to call an ambulance. I don't move. I stand there, amidst the chaos, holding my silver tray. I watch as his world, so carefully and cruelly constructed, comes crashing down around him. I feel nothing. Not joy, not triumph, not even satisfaction. Just quiet. A deep, profound, and final quiet. The war is over. I have won. I turn and walk away from the scene. I don't look back. I walk through the bewildered guests, past the abandoned food and the shattered glass. I go through the service entrance, out into the cool night air. I untie the apron, the symbol of my feigned servitude, and I let it fall to the ground. I take a deep breath, the first truly clean breath I've taken in 6 months. I don't know what happened to him after he hit the floor, and I find that I don't care. My part in his story is over. My own is just beginning. The aftermath is a strange, muted affair. The ambulance came, its flashing lights painting the chaotic scene in strokes of red and blue. Mark survived. A minor heart attack, they called it, brought on by extreme stress. I learned this not because I asked, but because the news traveled through the grapevine of our old social circle like a shockwave. The story of the engagement party became a piece of local gossip, a dramatic tale told over brunches and cocktails. The details got twisted, of course. In some versions, I was a vengeful harpy who screamed and threw things. In others, I was a tragic figure who collapsed in tears. No one got it quite right. They couldn't understand the quiet, calculated precision of it all. They were looking for emotion, for a dramatic outburst. They didn't understand that my revenge was served cold, on a silver platter, just like the canapes. His life unraveled with astonishing speed. The lawsuit was airtight. The evidence of his embezzlement was undeniable. With all his assets frozen, he couldn't afford a high-powered legal defense. His lawyer, the same one who had drafted my insulting buyout offer, dropped him. Tiffany, the woman for whom he had torched his life, stood by him for about a week, until she realized the money was gone. The luxury apartment, the fancy car, the promise of a life bankrolled by my hard work, it all evaporated. She left him. I heard she moved back in with her parents. Savor, the company we had poured our souls into, crumbled. Without its clients, without its staff, without its creative core, it was just an empty shell. It went into bankruptcy within 2 months. The name that we had built, that had once been a symbol of quality and excellence, was now synonymous with scandal and collapse. Meanwhile, Phoenix Catering rose from the ashes, just as I had intended. My clients, the ones who had trusted me enough to come with me, were my foundation. The staff, loyal and energized, worked with a renewed sense of purpose. We opened our new commercial kitchen in a bright, airy space downtown. The first day we fired up the ovens, the smell of baking bread and roasting garlic felt like a homecoming. It was a new beginning, built on the foundations of my old life, but stronger, smarter, and entirely my own. I never spoke to Mark again. Our lawyers handled everything. The divorce was finalized. In the settlement, I didn't take everything. I wasn't interested in punishment for punishment's sake. I took what was mine. My half of the original business's value, before he ran it into the ground. Damages for the money he stole. The house. It was more than enough. He was left with nothing but his debts and his infamy. Sometimes, late at night, when the kitchen is quiet and I'm alone with my thoughts, I think about his last request. Let's be friends. I understand now what he meant. He didn't want my friendship. He wanted my complicity. He wanted me to stand by, smiling and nodding, as he took everything from me. He wanted me to validate his choices, to absolve him of his guilt. My friendship was meant to be his final prize, the proof that he was a good guy who had just followed his heart. Refusing to play that role, refusing to be the gracious victim in his narrative, was the most powerful thing I could have done. It wasn't about revenge. It was about refusing to be erased. My life is different now. It's quieter. It's my own. I find joy in small things. The perfect sear on a piece of fish. The laughter of my staff during a busy service. The feeling of driving home to a house that is a sanctuary, not a battleground. I am not the same woman I was. The naive trust is gone, replaced by a harder, more resilient core. I have learned that love can be a weapon and friendship a cage. But I have also learned that I am stronger than I ever thought possible. I survived the fire. And I learned to fly. He wanted to be friends, but what he really wanted was an audience for his victory. Sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to play their game. If you've ever had to walk away to save yourself, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And please subscribe. Your support helps bring more of these stories to light.